All right, Mopar people, welcome back to the channel. I'm just Mopar Joe. Today we're going to bolt the new Harland Sharp rocker arms finally on the 400. Don't think for a minute that you can do this in an hour. It's not that fast. There's a lot more tips to it, a lot more tricks, and a lot more things you need to check for. So hopefully I'll hang out and we'll get this put together. Here are the rocker arms that I have. Got these from Harland Sharp. The S7001KE, and these are marked S7016 KE. So the 1.6 means they are 1:6 ratio. If you saw that other video I did check the ratio on them, and they ended up being a little bit higher than that, and that's okay. Works great with my stuff, but when you're building your engine, you may want to check that. Be sure you don't have coil bind or any interference with your valve stems or seals, any of that stuff. Anyway, I wanted to show you the package first and how they always come vacuum sealed. They come with little spacers. So hold down, there's a little tiny shim spacer, rocker, the big wide spacer, a thinner shim spacer, right? There's our hold down again, so on and so forth. So I kind of like this system a little bit better than the 440 source, because the 440 source wants you to use the smaller shims like this. And I've had guys setting to the side of the rollers on the rocker arm itself. I've never seen that personally, but it's just something to consider. For our fitment, we're just going to follow the directions real simply. Installation tips: apply oil or lube to the roller tip and push rod ball before installing on engine, or it says, or allow rocker assembly to soak in 30 weight oil for a half hour prior to install. So what I'm going to do is pop all these apart. I can get my rocker arms soaking in oil, or at least lube the inside of them really well. I like a Lucas 50-50 mix. If you use the oil stabilizer 50% and then 50% of your normal oil, it's really good thick stuff, and I can coat the inside of those, roll them around, and they'll be good to go for that initial startup. Because what's going to happen, my engine's already been primed and it's going to start filling that shaft up quickly. There's also an oil hole in the top and the bottom of these shafts, sort of like these 440 source shafts here. So there's an oil hole top and bottom. So what it does is, whenever that finally fills up, it's going to lube those bearings on both sides. Before we install anything, we got to clean it all. So the shafts come with some kind of lube, I'm assuming, to keep it from rusting. The reason I like the Harland shafts, besides them being super thick, you can take the plugs out. So I don't know if I can get you a camera angle on that or not, but you can clean that out all the way through, and we're going to, and I'll show you what's inside. But the plugs themselves, it looks like after they're screwed in, they may just get a butt grind or something. This one has just a little bit of kind of some metal flakes or shavings or something. So not a big deal, but it would be a big deal if you didn't clean it out and it made its way on down. So I like to inspect and clean everything. That's why the process takes longer, but I think you get a better result. I just got a can of brake cleaner and an old new sock, and I'm going to wipe that shaft outside. Got a little bit of residue, not bad. Go ahead and do our other one. Most people know this stuff. Some people just kind of overlook it because it's such a nice brand and quality stuff. But I mean, everything is made somewhere, right? So looking through our shaft, it's just kind of dark, you can't see anything. I have here a barrel cleaning kit, and what I'm going to do, just feed this all the way through. This one's kind of goofy. I like the ones with rods better, but it's what I got today. My long cleaning brushes are at the other shop, and the show must go on. There we go. So I got that all the way through, and I'll take me a piece of fine cloth here and wrap, just like you've seen in other videos. I'm gonna coat her in brake cleaner, and I'll shoot a little down my shaft there, and we'll pull her through and see what she looks like. Now, I believe that was worth cleaning out. It may just be a factory residue of some kind, or a rust prohibitive or whatever. But we're going to do that a couple more times until our rag comes out clean. Everything is made somewhere, and getting better somewhat. I may can turn that rag around, try it this way. Dirty up both sides of it, but that's the process I'm using. Once this comes out pretty clean, I'm gonna shoot this one more time with brake cleaner, blow it out with compressed air, and I'm gonna look through every hole to be sure there's no fibers of cloth or any of that stuff left in there. You can kind of see there is some yellow stuff in there, so there's lint or something coming off my rag, so that's no good. I'll make them switch to a different one to prevent that. I believe they're ready to go into the oven. Oh wait, never mind. Got my rocker arms soaking in some diesel engine oil here. It's got the ZDDP in it, which is in their instructions, and I have flipped them inside the pan, move the bottom to the top and so forth, so that oil is inside the rollers and inside the bearings. So now I've got a piece of mechanics wire. I'm gonna go ahead and just string them up out of there, and that way they can drip dry some before I have to handle them. Because the oil, it will still be inside the little bearings in here. And if it doesn't have to be slobbered all over my hands and fingers and everywhere else, that's a good thing. So as my others are dripping dry, I wanted to show you, I left this one on here. I haven't pulled it and soaked it in oil yet for install, because I need to check the sweep pattern on that valve. I've never done that. I have no idea what it is. I still have the longer push rod end that I'm probably not going to use because it's too long. And I have a full set that's a little bit shorter, and they are right on having 2 threads showing, which Harland Sharp says is okay to keep the right geometry. So what I'm going to do, see the rest of these push rods are all out. Pop this rocker arm, pop this shaft off, clean up the tip, because this roller's even still dry here. Clean up the roller, clean up the tip, mark it, and we'll do us a little quick test to see what the sweep pattern is. I guess when setting these up, most people already know this if you've seen my other videos. I'm worried about, one, the push rod clearance right there between the head and the push rod. So we can space for that and move it over a little bit. We're also very worried about getting the roller centered right there on the valve stem, side to side. So that's also crucially important. And then of course the sweep pattern, whenever the rocker rolls over, or whenever the engine rolls over and the roller rolls on the tip of the rocker and goes back and forth like that. So we can adjust most of those, but sometimes I figured out if your sweep pattern, if your roller rather is rolling off the end of the rocker, there's not a lot you can do for that unless you have the right retainer and can run a lash cap that'll bring up this half. But otherwise, if it was too far inboard, you could shim it out with those spacers that go underneath your shaft. So we'll just see how this one turns out. Actually, I'll put the correct push rod back in and relash that valve. A Sharpie and just color the end of that. I'm gonna take and roll that roller. I probably could have left the shims and stuff out, but I wanted to turn it over and see the sweep too. Guess that's the way it is. Roll, 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 roll. Okay. Now if I can push down. So top side of the valve. I think that looks pretty good. Just for the starting there, because it's going to roll outwards and roll back in. So what I'll do is relash that valve now and roll the engine over. Why not? I would hit my starter, but I got a lot of push rods out right now, and I'm a little scared as to what that would do to those lifters bouncing around in there. Maybe nothing, but I think I like my stuff too much to come through that. Little by little here. Now we get some movement. Kind of see where we're at here. Bring her down and under. Looks like I'm off center, but that doesn't matter for what we're testing right now. I'll finish my rotation and hopefully it left a mark for us. All right, check us out. I dig it. Hopefully you can see that. So it started high, went over center, and stopped. Just see that real faint line. That looks really, really good to me. And bonus, that same rocker arm that I had lashed, I went ahead and popped it right off. Let me get you into a better light here. There, right there. 2 threads. It says 0 to 2 threads. So with my pointer, that's 1 thread, that's 2 thread. That ain't a thread. That is not a thread. That is the bottom of the bolt. So we got 1 thread, 2 thread. Not 2.5. And if we flip it over, it looks like even less. So, like I said, depending on your vantage point, that's not a thread, that's a thread. So this one is barely hanging out. Got that one right there. These rockers are good to go. Let me go ahead and assemble them. And it's gonna be very hard or difficult to lay on my face and look under here to see how that's lining up with the valve stems. So I just figured, since I have this, there you are and there we are, fancy cell phone, I'm gonna do it just like this. And I'm going to take 8 pictures and look exactly at that. There we are. That one looks pretty good. A little blurry there. I may have to go back, turn my flash off. I mean, it's looking really nice. There's one. That dude looks like it's just a little bit off center. But it kind of gives me a good baseline of right here number 1 intake. I'll lay down and look her over here. Alright, I went ahead and rotated that engine around. You can see my side plate here. Harland Sharp would like 15 to 20 thousandths. And right now I have 30 thousandths. Very tight 30, but it's still a 30. I can get that 30 in there. So that means I would need one of my little thin metal shims, and that will shim these up perfectly. So I'll try to decide just by looking at my rocker tips now where the best place that should go is. If I want to put it in here, it would push them both outward. Put one over here, pushes this one this way, but I can certainly shim that up nicely. I know sometimes it's necessary if you have to pull this larger shim out, take some off of it carefully, and then add your little shims other places, but I'll just go cylinder by cylinder now and get them shimmed up. I did not add a shim anywhere so far, but I have 15 to 20 thousandths everywhere. But what I had to do, and it's a little bit odd, started with my center adjuster, or I started with my center hold down. It's torqued. I basically torqued them all, and when I got to each cylinder, so when I was doing number 1, and I was able to back off enough on these valves, back off enough on these valves, there was basically no pressure at all on the rocker on. I loosened this and I loosened this, and I could take a 15 thousandths feeler gauge, slide it in. You see this is loose right now. Slide it in here, set my gap that way, move the hold down towards it, and torque it. And then I could slide it in this side. See that rocker's got some side play? Slide it in here, torque this one down. So I actually used my hold downs to set my rocker side play. That's pretty cool. One thing, and you'll see I have a piece of note card in here. My tightest 2 push rods are here and here. So what is that, 3 and 5, both on intake. This is a note card. If I don't drop it down in the engine, it won't go too far. So here's a new piece of note card. I can, on both of these, slip that note card in if it's at the correct angle with no binding. See how free and smooth that is? So I know it's tight, but it's not touching. And that is when it is depressed. So I just left the note card hanging in. I got a screwdriver, I can bump it. Note card's still free. And I just went through the whole cycle. Still wide open. So I got at least that thickness between there. Some may say it's not enough, but it is not currently rubbing. And I spun the engine over completely several times like this. And I just went through with my flashlight, checked everything out. My rollers are almost perfect now, perfectly centered now, since it rolled over and was able to adjust, kind of find its own happy place. I know that sounds weird, but yeah, they look really, really nice on top of my valve stem. So I'm going to relash this side one more time, and just like on the other side, my tight spots are here, here, there, and there. But it all looks really good. I've got my flashlight out and checked my roller pattern on the ends of the valve stems. So now I'm gonna do my final valve lash and we can fire it up. I think project's complete. New rockers are on. It really truly feels like it has a larger cam. I don't know if I'm crazy or what it is, but we'll find out soon at the racetrack. I really like the Harland Sharp stuff. If you want to order any, call them direct. Be sure to ask for Mr. Randy Jr. and tell him that you saw it on Mopar Joe or just Mopar Joe, and he'll get you fixed up. Thank y'all for watching, and I'll catch you next time.